I'm going to say something to you that I don't say lightly. I am begging you, please don't ignore this, because most people over the age of 50 are focused on the wrong thing where fat is concerned. They're focused on the number on the scale, or maybe just how they look in the mirror, and they're completely missing what's actually putting their health at the most risk. I've been as guilty as anyone about this, and frankly, as human beings, I think we all have a pretty strong ability to see what we want to see when we look in the mirror. But the big concern that I'm talking about here is something called visceral fat. Now, you may have heard that term before, but most people don't really understand what that means. This isn't the fat that you can pinch. It's the fat that sits deep inside your abdomen, wrapped around your organs, your liver, your pancreas, your intestines. And here's the problem. This is the fat that's most strongly linked to things like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even certain types of cancer. And it's not just about being overweight. Rather, it's where this fat is located. And here's where this becomes very real for all of us over the age of 50. There was a paper that looked at how this changes as we age, and what they found was pretty striking. I'll put the link to the paper down in the description below if you want to read it yourself. But here's what they found. Visceral fat doesn't just creep up slowly. It can increase over 200% in men and up to 400% in women from early adulthood into later life. Now think about that for a second. Even if your weight hasn't changed much, your body composition may be changing dramatically. And that's the part that nobody talks about. You can look at someone and maybe they don't look dramatically different, but internally things have started to shift. More fat around the organs, less muscle, and that combination is what starts driving risk. Now, why does this happen in the first place? Well, for a few reasons. Most of us do gain a little weight as we age. Not a lot, but enough. Second, we lose muscle. And when we lose muscle, we lose a certain percentage of our calorie burning ability. And third, and this is the big one, the body actually starts redistributing fat, less in your arms and your legs, more into the abdomen, and specifically around the organs. Hormones play a role here. Testosterone declines in men. Estrogen and testosterone decline in women. Insulin resistance tends to creep up. All of that creates a perfect environment for visceral fat to increase. Now, here's the part that I think is actually encouraging. This is not inevitable. The same paper makes it very clear that people who stay active and maintain their muscle mass can significantly slow this process, and in some cases even prevent a lot of it from happening. And that brings me to what I want you to take away from this today. If you're over 50, you should still care about your weight, but I would argue you should care even more about your waistline, your muscle, and your activity level, because those are the levers that influence visceral fat. Strength training, even 30 minutes for a few times a week, can help preserve muscle. Walking, staying active, keeping your body moving can help keep fat from accumulating where it shouldn't be in the first place. And here's the bottom line. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to look like you did when you were 30, but ignoring this completely, that's where people start to get in trouble if they don't address it, because visceral fat is silent. You don't feel it, you don't see it clearly, but over time it shows up affecting your lab work, your blood sugar, your cholesterol, and eventually affecting your overall health. Also, just because you might not see it doesn't mean you shouldn't look for it. If you've never had a DEXA scan, it's worth getting one and discussing it with your doctor. These tests are relatively inexpensive, but they can give you a lot of information and insight about how much visceral fat that you actually might have and what that might mean in terms of your health risk. I work out consistently and I've done so for years, but my DEXA scan 2 months ago told me that I've still got some work to do. So yes, I am begging you, don't ignore this, not out of fear, but because this is one of the few things that we actually have some control over even as we get older. If you haven't seen this video about why weight training is so important as we age, you can watch it next. As always, thanks so much for watching, and please share this video with someone you feel would benefit from watching it as well. Stay strong, stay positive, and I will see you in the next video.